It all began with a mistake. No, not a mistake, a cruelty disguised as a joke. A cruelty so unnecessary that, years later, people would still whisper about it with a mixture of shame and disbelief. Because on that cold Friday evening, in a restaurant far fancier than anything he had ever stepped into, a humble mechanic named Liam Porter sat under glistening chandeliers, unaware that almost everyone around him wasn't laughing with him, but at him. The moment he walked in, they paused their drinks. Their smirks lifted. Their eyes sharpened like knives. A trap had been set, and he had walked straight into it. And yet, by the time the night was over, it would be they who learned a lesson they'd never forget. Backhand index pointing right before we go deeper, if you believe in kindness, humility, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Liam was the sort of man people underestimated at first glance. He worked at a small neighborhood garage, wore shirts permanently stained with oil, and lived quietly in a rented room above the workshop. He was gentle, thoughtful, raised by grandparents who taught him that dignity had nothing to do with wealth. But lately, life had been ruthless. His grandfather had passed, the workshop struggled for business, and he often skipped meals to save money for rent. He didn't complain, didn't ask for help, just kept working, wiping sweat from his brow, fixing engines he could never afford to drive. The rich boys from Halston Industries brought in their cars often. They liked Liam, not in a friendly way, but the way spoiled executive sons liked someone they could joke about. He never reacted, never fought back, which only encouraged them. When they discovered he'd never been on a proper date, someone suggested a blind date. Someone else laughed. A third said it should be at the most expensive restaurant in town. A fourth added that they should make sure he wore his dirty work clothes. And that's how the trap was born. They didn't expect anything to come from it, certainly not her. Amelia Halston. Flawless, elegant, stunning, the only daughter of the CEO of Halston Industries. She didn't live like the others. Yes, she was wealthy, but she was also warm, compassionate, and known for treating people with disarming kindness. They invited her under the guise of a charity dinner, telling her she'd be meeting someone they highly respected, a hard-working man who deserved a chance. She agreed. She always supported genuine kindness. But nothing prepared her for the sight of the man sitting alone at the center table, a man in a stained white shirt, hair still messy from a day under the hood of a car, hands rough, shoulders broad, confusion written across his face as laughter echoed around him like a slow, cruel drumbeat. The moment she saw the embarrassment in his eyes, everything clicked. She had been tricked. He had been humiliated. Her heart broke on the spot. Liam didn't know whether to stand, to run, or to sink through the floor. He felt every laugh like a needle. He wasn't stupid, he understood now what they had done. He didn't belong in this world of polished shoes and polished lies. He lifted a slice of pizza they deliberately ordered for him, because it was the cheapest thing on the menu, and wished, for once, he could disappear before the humiliation swallowed him whole. But then he heard a gentle voice, a little girl's gasp of surprise. And beside her, her mother, glowing like a beacon in the shadows. "Mommy, look," the child squealed, grinning up at Amelia. "That man is eating pizza. My favorite." Liam turned. He had expected disgust in Amelia's eyes, or pity, or worse, mockery. What he found instead was softness. Kindness. Something like apology. Amelia walked forward, holding her daughter's hand, her dress flowing like silk around her. The restaurant seemed to fall silent, watchers holding their breath. She didn't hesitate. She didn't judge his clothes or his hands or the grease on his shirt. She just smiled. And just like that, the prankster's smirks faltered. Amelia sat down opposite Liam, not because she was playing along with the joke, but because she saw him. A man uncomfortable and humiliated, yet sitting up straight, trying to endure. A man with dignity even while drowning in shame. Under the table, her daughter pointed at his pizza again, giggling. Liam offered a small smile back. Something inside him eased just a little. Amelia asked him about himself, about his work, about his life. She spoke to him like he mattered, like he belonged there. And though the watchers rolled their eyes and snickered, something in Amelia's unwavering kindness slowly suffocated their amusement. Meanwhile, Liam struggled. Not because she intimidated him, though she did, but because he didn't want her to feel forced to stay. He felt guilty, unworthy, embarrassed. Yet the more he tried to shrink himself, the more she leaned in, drawing him back. Something changed in the air. The prank had begun to crumble. And everyone knew it. When Amelia discovered the truth, how they'd set him up to laugh at him, her expression turned colder than winter steel. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her disappointment cut sharper than anger ever could. But what shocked everyone was what she said next. She said she wanted to know more about him. She said she admired him. And later, when someone asked why she cared about a man like that, she answered a sentence that would echo across the company for years. Because I like him. Not because of his clothes. Not because of his status. But because of his heart. From that night on, something started to bloom between them. Slowly, gently, sincerely. Amelia visited the workshop, her daughter skipping between cars and making the mechanics laugh. She talked to Liam while he worked, fascinated by his dedication, his humility, his honesty. He tried to keep his guard up, not wanting to be a charity case, but she made him feel seen, appreciated, respected. The pranksters didn't laugh anymore. Soon the whole neighborhood noticed the change in him. He smiled more. Worked harder. Lifted his head higher. For the first time in a long time, hope returned to his life. But the biggest test came the day Amelia introduced Liam to her father. Mr. Halston was a towering man in business circles. Powerful. Stern. Protective of his daughter. When Liam walked into that office, hands trembling, he felt smaller than ever. He knew he didn't have money or status or impressive degrees. All he had was honesty. He told the CEO the truth, that he cared for Amelia but didn't feel worthy of her. That he respected her too much to hurt her. And that he would walk away if that's what was best for her, no matter how much it tore him apart. Halston stared at him for a long moment, then asked why he came despite being terrified. Liam answered simply. Because she believes in me. And I don't ever want to let her down. It wasn't wealth or charm that won the CEO over. It was sincerity. Character. Integrity. Within months, Halston invested in the struggling neighborhood garage, allowing Liam and his co-workers to modernize, expand, and thrive. Not as charity, but as partnership. Halston said every good company needed at least one leader who remembered what real work felt like. Liam and Amelia's relationship deepened. Her friends eventually apologized. The pranksters grew silent. People who once mocked him now nodded respectfully as he passed. Life didn't magically perfect itself, but Liam walked through the world with a confidence he'd never owned before, because the people who mattered saw him for who he truly was. And on the anniversary of their strange, humiliating, destiny-changing first meeting, Liam returned to the same restaurant. Only this time, he wore a suit. Only this time, people smiled when he walked in. Only this time, he wasn't alone. He held Amelia's hand on one side and her daughter's on the other. And as they sat down under the golden chandeliers, he realized something beautiful. Sometimes life breaks you just enough to rebuild you into someone stronger, someone braver, someone more ready for love than you ever believed possible. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement keeps these emotional stories alive. Speech balloon before you go, comment below what moment in the story moved you the most.